Your weight on the moon is relative to your weight on Earth. Billy weighs 220 pounds on Earth, but just 37 pounds on the moon. If you weigh 135 pounds on Earth, how much would you weigh on the moon? Round to the nearest tenth of a pound. So we're thinking about proportions. And you might be saying, how do I know I want to set up a proportion? Well, you're doing a comparison. First, you're comparing Billy to you, and you're comparing the Earth and the moon in terms of how much you weigh in each place. And so it's important, if you're doing a comparison of if this is true, then what else has to be true, that's where we use proportional reasoning. So we know that Billy weighs 220 pounds on Earth and 37 pounds on the moon. And this is why I like to use words, because it's very clear then where you put different numbers. But when you look at you weigh 135 pounds on Earth, and you're trying to figure out how much you weigh on the moon. So we now have a proportion that we can solve with cross multiplication. So with that cross multiplication, 220 times x gives me 220x, and 37 times 135 gives me 4,995. Equal sign splits it into two equal parts. Because the 220 is touching the x, it implies multiplication. So I'm going to divide by 220. 220 divided by 220 is 1x. 49.95 divided by 220 is 22.704. Directions say round to the nearest tenth. 0 rounds down, so we would say you would weigh 22.7 pounds on the moon.